right now, someone dumber than you is winning. Not because they worked harder, not because they're more talented, not because the universe decided to reward mediocrity. They're winning because they understand one rule you were never taught. You are intelligent. You think before you speak. You consider consequences. You give people the benefit of the doubt. You believe that if you do the right thing, if you stay honest, stay consistent, stay loyal, it will eventually be recognized. And that belief, and that one beautiful, reasonable belief, is the exact door they walk through every single time. While you were being fair, they were being strategic. While you were being honest, they were managing perception. While you were earning trust slowly, they were manufacturing it instantly. You didn't lose because you were weak. You lost because you brought a conscience to a game that has no referee. And tonight, that changes. Think about the last time you were outmaneuvered. Maybe it was at work. Someone with half your ability got the promotion, the credit, the room's attention. Maybe it was in a relationship. Someone gave you just enough warmth to keep. You invested, then disappeared the moment you stopped being useful. Maybe it was a friendship. Someone who called themselves your brother took everything. You offered and gave you a carefully constructed version of themselves in return. You replayed it. You analyzed it. You asked yourself what you missed. Here is what you missed. They were not operating on your level. They were operating on a different map entirely. And Machiavelli drew that map 500 years ago. Let me tell you something that no motivational channel will ever say to you. It is not a character flaw that you were manipulated. It is not naivety. It is not weakness. It is the direct consequence of being the kind of person who assumes that other people operate the way you do, and with intention, with integrity, with a baseline of honesty. That assumption is not stupidity. It is the mark of a man who has built his inner world on solid foundations. The problem is, you walked into someone else's world and assumed the same rules applied. They did not. Drop this in the comments. My trust is earned, not assumed. Here is the brutal truth. The people manipulating you are not smarter than you. In fact, in many measurable ways, they are not even close to your level. But they have one advantage you don't. They have no inner conflict about using people. You pause. You consider. You weigh. You ask, is this the right thing? That pause is your decency. And to a manipulator, that pause is an opening. Every moment you spend deliberating, they are acting. Every moment you spend being fair, they are being effective. They are not smarter. They are simply less burdened by the things that make you human. Understanding this is not permission to become them. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. The world did not teach you this by accident. You were schooled in honesty, fairness, reciprocity, because those values serve the systems that need your cooperation. They are not lies, but they were handed to you without the warning label that reads, some people will never share these values, and they will use yours against you. Machiavelli saw this. He saw it in the courts of Florence. He saw it in the halls of the Vatican. He saw it in every prince who was kind and every prince who was clever. And he watched, without sentiment, as the kind ones fell. Niccolo Machiavelli was born in Florence in 1469. He served as a diplomat, a statesman, a strategist, and he watched men of extraordinary intelligence destroyed, repeatedly by men of ordinary intelligence who simply understood power better. He was imprisoned, tortured, exiled, and still, he wrote, not to corrupt the powerful, but to warn the unprotected. His book, The Prince, was not a manual for tyrants. It was an anatomy of reality, a map of the game that was already being played, whether you chose to acknowledge it or not. And in that book, he wrote one sentence that should be carved into every ambitious man's wall. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because cruelty is a virtue, but because a man who is loved for his softness will be tested by everyone who suspects it. And a man who commands respect through power, through clarity, through stillness, through the refusal to be moved, will never need to recover from being underestimated. Lesson 1. Your intelligence is their first weapon against you. Intelligent men overthink. That is not an insult. It is a design feature being exploited. You have been in a conversation where something felt wrong but you couldn't immediately identify why, so you gave the person more time, more access, more benefit of the doubt. You told yourself, I don't have enough data yet. Let me observe a little longer. Meanwhile, they were already 3 moves ahead. Manipulators specifically target high-functioning men because you are slower to accuse. You require evidence. You resist snap judgments. Your intellectual fairness becomes their operating window. Machiavelli's answer: trust the pattern, not the performance. A man can lie in 1 conversation. He cannot lie in 20. Watch what they do when there is nothing to gain. That is the only version of them that is real. Starting today, when something feels architecturally wrong, when the structure of an interaction doesn't add up even if you can't name why, that feeling is the data. Act on it. Lesson 2. Selling you an emotion you already want. Every skilled manipulator is in the same business, selling you the feeling you are most hungry for. Validation, belonging, being seen, being chosen. You are a man who thinks deeply and possibly moves through the world slightly apart from it. That separation creates hunger for genuine recognition, for someone who actually gets it. They spotted that hunger in under 60 seconds. They didn't manufacture charm. They mirrored. They reflected your language back at you. They made you feel understood, because they studied you long enough to impersonate understanding. Machiavelli knew men fall not for people, but for the version of themselves they see reflected in another's eyes. Starting today, ask yourself, does this person know me? Or do they know what I want to hear? The difference is everything. Drop this in the comments. I feed my own hunger. No one has that power. Lesson 3. Every favor they do for you is an invoice. This is the lesson that will make you think back over the last 5 years with completely different eyes. Manipulators do not give freely. They invest. Every gesture of generosity, every time they showed up for you, spoke well of you, helped you, was a deposit into an account they fully intended to withdraw from. You felt the warmth of the gesture. You did not see the ledger being updated. When the ask finally came, and it always comes, you felt obligated. You felt that refusing would make you the ungrateful one, the selfish one. That is not coincidence. That is architecture. Machiavelli understood that generosity, when weaponized, is one of the most effective forms of control ever invented. The chain is invisible. The lock is made of your own gratitude. Starting today, receive gestures, but never let them accumulate into debt. Reciprocate quickly, cleanly, and never let anyone build a balance in your name. Lesson 4. They create the problem and sell you the solution. This one is cold. Pay attention. There are people in your life, possibly close to you right now, who introduce uncertainty and then position themselves as your stability. They plant doubt about your other relationships, then offer themselves as the one person who truly understands. They subtly undermine your confidence in a specific area, then appear as the one willing to mentor you through it. They create turbulence around you and then present themselves as the calm. This is not paranoia. This is a documented manipulation pattern Machiavelli observed in every court he studied. Create dependency by creating the conditions that require it. Starting today, when someone is always present, at the exact moment you are most destabilized, ask yourself who opened the fault line. Drop this in the comments. I identify the architect, not just the storm. Lesson 5. They win in rooms you don't even know exist. You believe the game is played where you can see it. In the meeting, in the conversation, in the direct exchange. You are wrong. The most important moves happen before you arrive and after you leave. In the conversation someone had about you that shaped the room's perception before you ever spoke. In the alliance built during the 10 minutes you chose not to attend the social gathering. In the narrative quietly constructed about your competence, your intentions, your reliability, while you were focused on actually being competent. intentional and reliable. Machiavelli's insight: perception is managed, not earned. And the man who refuses to manage his perception leaves that work to his enemies. Starting today, be present in the rooms where your name is spoken. Build your narrative before someone else does. Silence is not modesty in a political environment. It is an empty chair at the table. Chuck Lesson 6. Every emotion you show is intelligence they collect. Anger, excitement, insecurity, hope, fear. Every emotion you display in front of the wrong person is a file they save for later use. They know what makes you irrational. They know what makes you soft. They know what promise will make you override your own judgment. They watched your reactions and they took notes. Not because they care, but because data is leverage. The most dangerous man in any room is not the loudest or the most aggressive. It is the one who reveals the least. The one whose emotional interior remains uncharted territory. Machiavelli's lesson: stillness is not weakness. It is the armor of a man who understands that every signal he emits will be studied. Starting today, train the pause. Before every emotional reaction, especially in high-stakes environments, insert 2 seconds of silence. In those 2 seconds, you reclaim the room. Drop this in the comments. My stillness is my power, my silence is my strategy. You came into this video as the man who kept losing to people he knew were beneath him. You are leaving it as something else entirely. The old you is dead. The man who gave everyone the benefit of the doubt until there was nothing left to give, gone. The man who confused loyalty with submission, kindness with compliance, patience with passivity. That version of you has run its course. What replaces him is not cold. It is not cruel. It is not Machiavellian in the hollow performative way the word gets misused. It is simply awake, present, unfooled. You are a weapon pointed at your own future, not a weapon of destruction, a weapon of precision. Every lesson from tonight is a degree of accuracy. Every pattern you can now recognize is a threat that no longer lands. Every manipulation you can name has already lost its power over you. They need you confused. They need you second-guessing. They need you walking into the room without knowing the map. You have the map now. You belong to no one, not to their approval, not to their carefully constructed version of you, not to their narrative, their leverage, their manufactured warmth, or their patient investment in your blind spots. You belong to your own direction. And that, to every person who was counting on your compliance eye, is the most terrifying thing you could ever become. Drop this in the comments. I am the destination, not the pursuit. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. You will either recognize that this channel is one of the few places speaking to you without softening the truth, or you won't. That is entirely your decision. The men who stay are the ones who are done being comfortable, the ones who want the full map. If that is you, you know what to do. And before you go, I want to leave you with one question. Not for me, for you. Think about the one person in your life right now who always seems to benefit from your confusion. Who benefits most when you doubt yourself? Drop your answer, or don't. But sit with that question for the next 48 hours. Because the answer to it might be the most important thing you discover this year.